realized they made a mistake in the last video. When Sophie and George were together, the tenants that are in there now didn't move in beforehand. It was after they got a divorce, and then for about 9 months, the house after they got a divorce in well, lockdown was for 3 months, so the house was completely empty during that time. Um, or did there someone? Was there someone in there? We might have had someone in there actually. I can't remember. I can't remember. I can't remember. I just know that after the divorce, there was like a 6 month wait where Sophie refused to come into the house, come to live in the house, but it was empty for 6 months because like she kept being like, I'll come," and every time I called, she'll say she'll come, but she never did. And then after 6 months, it was like really, really empty. And I think we had maybe two or three people in, but I was getting really tired of having to always clean it. Um, before the lockdown, Sophie and George would come up every weekend and help with tidying sometimes. So sometimes I would tidy it, sometimes they would. But after the lockdown, um, I never saw George ever again and never spoke to him either. He blocked my number basically straight away, and wanted nothing to do with me. And Sophie was just hard to get hold of, and kind of was losing her mind. She got into a mental hospital around November time, I think it was, for about 3 or 3 months or something. I can't really remember the story. But she didn't want to move in, and so I told her, I'm going to find someone to rent it out for 3 months. Is that okay? She agreed to that, and then they were in there they were in the house for 3 months, and then the following year, this was when we had we had a contradiction between the people that were in there, and it's like, we can ask them to leave, but if you don't, if you I'm not going to ask them to leave if you're not going to live in it, basically. So that's what I told Sophie. If I would ask them to leave if she moved in and lived there. But I think she mildly wanted to, but I don't think she really did at all because she wasn't making any serious plans to do that. I know at one stage she did have a sort of mental breakdown and wanted to move in there and was saying that she wanted to move to live in there, even though I think, but that was like a month or two after I'd signed an agreement. I think there was some sort of agreement that they wanted, 6 months maybe. I can't really remember, but at some point I did make an agreement, and Sophie, I was trying to get Sophie to sign it, and she kind of verbally agreed, and she didn't want to sign anything, so I signed it. And then Sophie wanted to move in at that point, and we said, no, you can't. We've just signed this agreement. We have to let them stay in for a decent time. And so I can't really remember the story about it, but yeah, um, I know that they've been in there for 2 years, 2.5 years, and I've had so many problems, not just from them, but also from my sister, who's making things worse, by not wanting the property when it's empty, by wanting it as soon as it's the wrong time, and then just not by wanting to do nothing towards it, and then also saying that she kind of wants to move in, but I'm like, I'm not going to get rid of them if you're just going to change your mind again, or find a new person to date and not want to. And my sister's also been talking about wanting to live all over the world and just move about. And every time she has a new boyfriend, she would start talking about living in a different country and stuff like this. And I don't know, but she is not making things easier.